It began with a sound that shattered the peace of that quiet suburban street. A low, violent growl. Harley engines. 4 massive bikes rolled in slowly, their chrome flashing under the afternoon sun. Black leather vests marked with the unmistakable insignia of the Hells Angels. Curtains twitched, doors shut quietly. Mothers pulled their children closer. Even the air felt tense. Then, a voice. Small, shaking, too fragile for a moment this heavy. "Sir, will you buy my bike?" The engines softened. One by one they slowed to a stop. On the sidewalk stood a little girl, barely 6 years old. Her hair was untidy, her dress clean but old, her shoes worn thin at the edges. Beside her stood a pink bicycle with a white basket. In her hands a cardboard sign trembled. "For sale!" One biker stepped off his machine. Then another. Heavy boots hit the pavement. The smallest among them knelt down so his eyes met hers. Her name was Mira, and in her eyes lived something no child should ever carry: hunger and fear. Behind her, under a distant tree, an older woman lay wrapped in a thin blanket, pale and barely conscious. Mira swallowed hard and whispered, "Please, sir, my mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days." The biker's chest tightened. His name was Ryder. His brothers called him Wolf, but there was nothing cruel left in him. He was a man who had buried a son, walked away from a broken past, and stopped believing the world could be fair. Until now, Mira told him everything. Her mother, Clara, had worked for a well-known catering company. A company run by a smiling CEO, Mr. Hensley, loved by cameras, praised by magazines. When layoffs came, Clara begged to stay just a few more weeks. She was told she was replaceable. Since then there was no food, no money, no strength left to fight. So Mira did the only thing she could. She tried to sell her bicycle. Something inside Ryder broke. He pulled out his wallet and pressed a thick bundle of cash into her tiny hand. "Keep the bike," he said quietly. "You'll never have to sell love again." But this wasn't over. The Hells Angels didn't use violence that day. They used truth. They walked into Hensley's glass office like a storm after silence. Ryder placed the cardboard sign on the CEO's spotless desk. "That," he said calmly, "is the price of your greed." By sunset, the town was buzzing. Anonymous donations, jobs restored, bills paid, groceries delivered. No one knew why Hensley changed. Only 4 bikers, and a little girl with a pink bike. That evening, Ryder returned. Mira ran toward him, smiling. Clara stood, weak but hopeful. They shared bread under a fading sky. For once, the world felt kinder. The past that came back. Just when life began to breathe again, the past returned. 3 days after the bikers left, Clara received a call. Not from a company, not from charity, from Child Services. A complaint had been filed. Someone claimed Mira was being neglected. Clara's hands shook as she dropped the phone. She knew exactly who did it. Mr. Hensley hadn't forgiven. He'd planned revenge. That night, social workers arrived. Mira clung to her mother, crying silently. "Please, I sold my bike so Mommy could eat," she whispered. Clara collapsed to her knees. By morning, Mira was taken. When Ryder heard the news, his engine screamed louder than ever before. This time, it wasn't about money. It was about family. Ryder stood outside the foster office, fists clenched, eyes burning, not with rage but resolve. "Touching a child's future," he growled, "is crossing a line you can't come back from." What Ryder uncovered next would expose corruption, fake reports, and a system bought by powerful men. And this time, the truth wouldn't stay quiet. The foster home smelled clean, but it felt cold. Mira sat on a small bed, hugging her pink bicycle helmet to her chest. The bike itself was gone, locked away for safety. The walls were white, too white. No colors, no warmth. She didn't cry loudly. She just whispered, "Mommy will come," she promised. Across town, Clara lay awake on the floor of her tiny room, staring at the ceiling. The silence screamed. Her arms still remembered Mira's weight, her breath, her warmth, but the room was empty. And then, a knock, not gentle, not threatening, strong. When Clara opened the door, Ryder stood there. No bike, no leather jacket, just a man. "I failed her once," he said quietly. "I won't fail her again." Ryder had done his homework. The complaint against Clara, filed from a private number, registered to a law firm owned by a silent partner. That partner was Hensley, the same man who smiled for cameras. The next morning the story broke. Not whispered, not hidden, exposed. Documents leaked, fake welfare reports, bribes, threats. The internet exploded. News vans crowded outside Hensley's office. Protesters held signs. Parents cried on live TV. A single photo went viral. Mira's cardboard sign. For sale. By afternoon, the foster system reversed the decision. But Ryder wasn't done. He walked into the hearing room and knelt in front of Mira, eye level again. "Hey, kiddo," he said softly. "Remember what I told you?" She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You never sell love." The judge cleared his throat. "Custody is returned. Immediately." Mira ran, not walked, not hesitated. She ran straight into her mother's arms. Clara collapsed, sobbing, whispering her daughter's name like a prayer. Ryder turned away. Men like him didn't cry in public. That evening they sat under the same tree. Same sunset, but everything was different. Mira placed the cardboard sign on Ryder's lap. "I don't need this anymore," she said. Ryder smiled. "No," he replied gently, "but someone else might." Weeks later, Kindness Corner shared a new photo. A little girl riding her pink bike, a mother smiling, and 4 bikers in the background, watching quietly. Sometimes, angels don't have wings. They have engines. Peace didn't arrive loudly. It came quietly, like breath, returning after drowning. Weeks passed. Clara found work again, not because of charity, but because someone finally saw her worth. Mira went back to school, her backpack bigger than her body, her smile brighter than before. Every morning she tied her shoelaces carefully, afraid that if she rushed, something good might disappear. But one question stayed in her heart. Will he come back? Ryder told himself he was done. He wasn't built for endings like this. He'd helped, fixed what he could, and that was supposed to be enough. That's how he survived. Ride in, make things right, ride out. Yet every night, when engines cooled and the road went silent, his mind returned to a little girl under a tree, and a sign that said, "For sale." One afternoon, Mira waited on the sidewalk. She didn't hold a sign this time. She held a drawing. A pink bike, a tree, 4 big bikes behind them. When the rumble finally came, her heart jumped. Ryder stopped. No brothers. No leather vest. Just him. "I didn't want you to think I disappeared," he said. Mira ran to him, not fast, not desperate, just sure. She handed him the drawing. "You stayed," she said simply. Those 2 words hit harder than any loss he'd ever known. Later that evening, Ryder sat with Clara at the small kitchen table. The light flickered. The room smelled like warm bread. "You don't owe me anything," he said again. Clara shook her head. "I know," she replied softly, "but she needs someone who doesn't leave." Ryder looked at Mira, asleep on the couch, her bike helmet still beside her. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like riding away. Months later, the neighborhood changed. Kids waved when bikes passed. People stopped judging shadows. And once a week, a familiar engine parked outside a small house, not to rescue, but to belong. Ryder never called himself a hero. He was just a man who stayed. And sometimes, that's how broken worlds heal. Some people save lives once. Others save them every day by refusing to leave. Comment below. Do you believe staying is harder than saving? Like or share, subscribe, because kindness doesn't end. It continues.